Okay, so I had made this PowerPoint um, and went through it as we were going along through the different parts. You'll hear me talk about each of these things. And then this was the actual modeling that I did. It wasn't, it didn't get, when I did the recording on Camtasia, it didn't record this the first time. Like you can hear me typing and saying these words, but it wasn't recording the screen, so I apologize. But I wanted to include it so that you know that that's what I did, even though you just have my voice. And then this is the last slide as we moved from modeling into guided practice. So I apologize for that. Okay, I want to apologize for the lighting. I'm sorry about that. But hopefully you'll be able to see me doing the parts of the lesson that we're required to do. Alright guys, so thanks for coming back to your chairs after we just did our motion song. I appreciate that. We're going to move into our writing portion of the day, and so if you guys will grab your folders from your desk and put that on top of your desk, you're also going to need something to write with, preferably pencil. So far we've talked about the PENS strategy, P-E-N-S, and two types of simple sentences, SV, or subject-verb, where it has one subject and one verb. And we've also talked about a sentence that has two subjects and one verb, or SSV. So today we're going to talk about SVV, which means one subject and two verbs. And it makes sense, right? I've heard you guys all describe an object as doing two things. You guys talk to each other with complicated sentences, and so when we write, we don't want that to feel bad or boring or hard, and so we're going to get better at it so that it feels easier and more enjoyable, because writing isn't something that should feel bad. It should be something that we enjoy, and we know that we're only going to like it if we get good at it. So we're going to focus on different parts, and today we're going to talk about SVV, or one subject and two verbs. Cool? So that was why we're doing that. So as soon as we sat down from our motion song, I noticed some of you guys slouched and then you sat back up. You're already thinking about our slant strategy. So the first part of that is to sit up nice and tall. You might take a big breath so that we know we're sitting up nice and tall. You can look at the person who's talking. A is you're going to ask or answer different questions. You can nod your head as we go if you get it, or you can, instead of just giving me a crazy look, go ahead and shake your head back and forth if you're not getting it, and I'll know to address it more. I'll reteach it. I'll teach it a different way if you're not getting it. And we're also going to take some notes. So before we even do that, in order to review, let's play around the world. So I'm going to point and we'll go around our desks, and if you guys can tell me the correct answer for one of these, I'll give you a few extra minutes on the playground when we go out there. Alright, so we would do that play around the world to review each of these 15 items. And then the modeling section begins. So, alright, nice job, and I'm very proud of you guys. Those of you who answered those correctly are going to get a few extra minutes on the playground today. So far we've worked with two types of simple sentences. Do you guys remember what those were? Okay, SVV is one, or SV is one. Good job, and SSV. Cool. So, what does SVV mean? One subject, two verbs. Alright, so that's what we're going to work on today. so let's go ahead and write this down. You guys go ahead and write down too. I'll put mine on here. And we have SVV. All right. So, and what does that mean? What does that formula stand for? Okay, one subject and two verbs. Nice job. How might we describe that? Okay, I like that. So Sally said we have one person and they're doing two things, or they're performing two actions, or it might be one thing that's performing two actions. So let's go ahead and write that down too. It's like one person is doing two things, or two actions. Looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate or model how I would write an SVV sentence. But I'm still going to call on you, and so be ready for that. So the first thing I would do, I'm going to pick my formula, which in this case we already know is going to be SVV, or subject verb verb. Okay. What's the next part after I pick my formula? That's pens, right? What's the E? Danny? All right, good. I'm going to explore words. So as I'm doing this, I would be thinking, well, what's one subject? And I could say ball. And then I come up with my two verbs. So my first one I'm going to pick is bounce. Right? What else can a ball do? Let's go with roll. So I've explored my words. What's next? Well, next I'm going to note my words. That's right. Which means to put it into a sentence. So how about this? The ball bounced. Where could a ball bounce? What might it do? Alright, it could bounce off the wall. So the ball bounced off the wall and rolled, let's say, into Danny's feet. Okay, so we have noted our words. So the last part of pens is to do what? Yeah, search and check, right? We need to search for verbs and the subject, and we're going to see if we actually wrote a sentence that we intended to write. So an SVV sentence, we need to check for a capital letter, the period, and then we need to see if it makes sense. So using our mark strategy, first thing, we want to mark out any imposters, like the word to. So do you guys see any word to in this sentence? The ball bounced off the wall and into Danny's feet. Okay, so into is close to, but not quite. Nice job. Good job catching that. How about the next thing I'm going to say? So I did mark A, so I'm going to ask the verb question. So is there an action or linking verb? So the or ball, is that an action or linking verb? No. How about bounced? Yeah, good. So I'm going to go ahead and put a V over that because that's our verb. Off the wall. So what about this off the wall? Is that a verb? No. Anytime there's an and immediately following, there might be another verb. So is rolled a verb? Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and do a V over rolled as well. So how about our prepositional phrases? I kept it going. I left off of that. I haven't addressed that yet, but we'll come back to that so that we do our next part, which is to root out the subject, right? That's R. We did M, A, and now we're on R. So we're going to root out the subject. So we're going to ask who or what did the bouncing? And that would be the ball. Good job. Let's move this up a little bit so we can see it. Alright. So I put my S above the ball. I can't stop there because there might be another one, right? But since we see the ball bounce and it didn't have an and there, I'm thinking we're probably okay. I think that's going to be the only subject of our sentence. Cool, so I have an SVV that has one subject, which is ball, and our two verbs, which are bounced and rolled. So how about we do the last part, M-A-R-K. What is K? Okay, so we have to do the beginning, middle, and end. So first off, let's look at the beginning. What do we need? Okay, great. It needs a capital letter. I see many of you have already written your capital T automatically. If you haven't and you used pencil, you can go ahead and erase it and make a capital T. If you used pen, remember our strategy is to put the 3 lines under it, and that also means to capitalize. Okay? So now we're going to do our guided practice. So it's time for you guys to do one. And so I would like for you guys to open that folder up, and we are going to use 14A. Make sure you guys have 14A in front of you. And so that concludes the modeling section. Hope you enjoyed that.